So Josh Warrington loses his IBF World Featherweight title on a 12-round majority decision against Luis Alberto Lopez. This was a tough, hotly contested bout between the two of them. Lopez, yeah, had shades of Lara about him, but he didn't have the level of power Lara has. Similar in the fact that he throws unorthodox shots. He can be quite aggressive. He's certainly very confident. But yeah, the power that Lara has wasn't there. And therefore, Warrington was far more in it than certainly he was in the first Lara fight. I think it took Warrington a while to figure Lopez out because Lopez, with these unorthodox moves and weird shots, difficult to time, I think, for Josh Warrington. And the commentators mentioned this. Like Canelo Alvarez, he was riding punches very well. You know, when the shot's coming, a split second before it lands, he's turning his head in the same direction as the punch and he's taking the sting off it. Warrington, of course, not known as a massive puncher, or he's certainly not a prolific puncher, just 8 KOs and 31 victories. But you've had the likes of Carl Frampton say that Josh Warrington hits an awful lot harder than his record suggests. And that's possible. It can happen when fighters hit relatively hard, but because of their style, because of the competition, because of a number of different factors, they don't always get the number of knockouts to reflect the power in their punches. And maybe Warrington's one of those guys. But and also, your power is going to vary from one fight to the next. You might not always be as focused on power in certain fights as you are in other fights. People seem to assume that your power is going to be the same in every fight. It's not going to be the same in every fight. Depending on the way you train, depending on the way the strategy you use in the fight. In some fights, you're going to be dedicated to really landing hard shots, and in other fights, you're not going to be. And in certain fights, of course, you're going to be in there against opponents who know how to, like Lara, move and take the sting off shots. So I did think that Warrington had some issues there. He also, I think, was hurt by some body shots from Lopez. Keep getting Lara and Lopez mixed up. Lopez, I think, did hurt him in the body a few times, confusing him with the weird angles and the weird shots. But at the same time, Warrington was doing his own thing. Now, Warrington has got this reputation of being a dirty fighter because so many people seem to get cut against Josh Warrington. Kiko Martinez got cut. Mauricio Lara got cut against him in the last fight. And it's happened here again against Lopez. Questions definitely have to be asked. Now, whenever you see these head clashes, they don't look intentional, right? But given the fact that it's happened so often now, is it just a case of Warrington being reckless with his head? Because some fighters are just reckless with their head. They don't mean to, go in there with the intention of cutting somebody, but they just fight in a certain way where the chin's tucked down on the chest. They're coming in and they want to get in close quickly so they can avoid, so they can basically get on the inside before their opponent can catch them coming in on the inside, if that makes sense. So they do these real fast bull rushes in. And in the process of doing that, your head can be in your opponent's face. So is that all that's happening here with Josh Warrington? Is it just that he's reckless with the head and not, taking care not to land it in his opponent's face? Or is he cleverly disguising deliberate butts to look like accidental butts? Let me know what you guys think. I remember watching Marcus Brown against Artem Beterbiev. And when I saw the slow-mo of when that cut occurred on Beterbiev, I came to the conclusion that that was deliberate. That Marcus Brown, found a way of subtly disguising it, or making it look subtle, right? Disguising it as an accidental butt when it was really deliberate. That's the conclusion I came to. Certain fighters are going to do that. Is that the case with Josh Warrington? You guys let me know what you think in the comments. But either way, when you manage to cut an opponent, it can throw them off, whether it's by a punch or a butt. It can throw them off. Lopez was very upset by the fact that he got cut early. The cut happened in round 2. He had apparently spoken to the ref, the officials, and whoever else in the run-up to the fight and told them to watch for Warrington's head, that he's not going to stand for any of that stuff. He doesn't want to end up like Mauricio Lara, his countryman, who got terribly cut in the Josh Warrington rematch. So he must have felt really upset when it happened to him so early in the fight. You know, he also spoke about being hit in the back by Warrington and all kinds of other illegal tactics. And maybe Warrington was guilty of those. You know, I'm not here trying to exonerate Warrington. I'm just asking what you got, just trying to be as fair as possible here. Asking what you guys think in the comment section below. Certainly, one of the things I noticed repeatedly throughout the fight from Warrington was rabbit punches, constantly punching Lopez in the back of the head, which is a real no-no. And I thought the referee really kind of turned a blind eye to all the rabbit punches from Josh Warrington. I really felt like he did. He warned Warrington for a couple things in the fight. And I think he warned Lopez a couple times as well, I think for holding. But really the rabbit punching was how the referee didn't pull him up on that, I don't know. Well, I have some idea, to be fair, but you know what I'm saying, it's just an expression. Anyway, as the fight progressed, particularly into the second half, Warrington seemed to come into his own a bit more. He seemed to figure Lopez out a little bit. Lopez was slowing. I think that Warrington did manage to buzz Lopez slightly with some shots. Obviously, Warrington's dad was on his case in the corner, telling him what he needed to do, throw more straight punches. And so down the stretch, Warrington did start picking up a lot more rounds. And certainly in the championship rounds, Warrington did some good work. As I say, managed to buzz Lopez. Now, after the fight, immediately at the final bell, the feeling that most of us have in these situations when it's a close fight, and this was a close fight. I know there's people out there saying that Warrington won clearly and Lopez won clearly. The reality is it was close. It could have gone either way. Now, in these situations, we're normally sitting there thinking, it's obviously going to go to the house fighter. Right? 9 times out of 10. And shout out to G-Man, by the way, because he mentioned this in one of his recent videos. Yeah, we don't have a problem with the house fighter getting a close decision. But if it was fair, then the house fighter wouldn't get the close decision 90% of the time. Do you know what I mean? It would be like 50-50. Sometimes the house fighter would get a close decision, and 50% of the time, the away fighter, the B side, would get the close decision. But we don't see that. We see that seemingly the house fighter, the A side, getting the close decision, getting the benefit of the doubt the vast majority of times. So the fact that Lopez got a decision here, even though Warrington and his fans are not happy and maybe some neutrals aren't happy, it helps the reputation of British boxing. If you guys actually care about that kind of thing. It helps the reputation of British boxing that a guy went over to the UK against a very popular fighter, certainly in Yorkshire and Leeds, his hometown, very popular in front of his fans, had a close fight and got the decision. Because then other fighters are going to look at that and say, okay, well, you're not always going to get robbed in the UK. Lopez went over there and got a decision. So it's not all bad. It helps the reputation of British boxing hasn't had the best of reputations over the past few years when it comes to fighters going over there and getting a fair shake, right? So this helps to address that balance. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Josh Warrington losing his belt to Luis Alberto Lopez. Do you think it was a fair result? Do you not? Warrington, of course, bitterly disappointed. He wanted to, there was talk of, unification with Lee Wood and a bunch of other people there. He could still be involved in fights because of the fact that he's got this big following. People, even with world titles, may be happy to fight Josh Warrington in Leeds because of the payday, because this guy does sell tickets. So, I don't think his career is necessarily over. He isn't looking as fresh, to me at least, as he was a few years ago. He doesn't look like the guy who beat Carl Frampton and Lee Selby to me. He does look a bit more shot-worn than that. He doesn't look as energized. And that's one of the things I should mention as well. Lopez fought with tremendous energy in this bout. I know maybe Warrington was coming back at him a little bit down the stretch. But Lopez was very relaxed. He had loads and loads of energy. Warrington looked like he was forcing it down the stretch. Do you know what I mean? Like he had to really dig deep to get those punches out and to get that work rate going. Whereas earlier on in Josh Warrington's career, even late in a fight, he didn't even look like he was forcing it. He just had bags and bags and bundles of energy. Nowadays, at the age of 32, having trained maniacally for so many years to fight at a high intensity, Warrington looks like he has to force it a bit to me. So I don't think he's going to be able to go on forever, but he might be able to make one more title run. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And as far as Lopez, well, he can be involved in big fights now. Maybe he goes and fights his countryman Lara, fights Lee Wood, whoever else, in the featherweight division. He can be involved in big fights and hopefully secure his future financially. So, yeah, give me your feedback.